these guys are absolutely passionate about what they do. They love their work, they love their job, and sort of who wouldn't? They get to create content all day long, and that's a pretty fun thing. There's no looking at Excel spreadsheets for most of these guys. They're creating fun stuff. They're watching videos on YouTube. These are the guys and girls who get to have a lot of fun every day. They believe they're only as good as the most recent work, which is really, really interesting when you combine it with the next thing we learned is that they absolutely believe in themselves, in their capabilities and their skills. And maybe it's because they work in a sort of subjective industry, but what you get is that second point makes them incredibly paranoid, and the third point makes them incredibly arrogant, so that they're paranoid egomaniacs. Anyone who's worked with a creative agency, this is where it comes from. They're absolutely looking for inspiration all the time. They are completely time impoverished. These are the very definition of media savvy, media illiterate, ad avoiding sort of people. They all own TiVos. You know, you can't just use traditional advertising media to connect with these guys and girls. They know everything is changing about them, and they're really, really fiercely competitive. And the reason for doing this, and the reason why I'm showing all this is what we were trying to do is find what unifies this group, and then what can we exploit as Adobe and insert the Adobe brand into an experience for them, which they maybe didn't realize they needed, but would actually involve them and engage them and be interesting. So you'll see that in just a moment, how we came together. The one other thing I'll show you before I roll the video is that there's all sorts of places you could go for this target audience. So from Creativity Magazine through to Flickr, none of these media properties would be the wrong place to be for reaching creative professionals. But what we needed to do was help bring this Adobe brand to life and do it in a way which, as John spoke about, bringing that inspiration to life. So we really did focus on basically saying, you know what, it needs to be digital, it needs to be online. This is where these people live and breathe and spend all their time, work and pleasure. So we can create experiences in the digital space, and it also gives us some scale if we do that as well, because we don't have to take everything to them. And then, you know, new media and events also is another area which we could help bring it all together. So what I'm going to do now is I hope the video is going to work. Let's roll the Layer Tennis video, and then all this will start to become clear, I hope.
The challenge was to get people inspired about the newest version of Adobe Creative Suite software called CS3. And for this campaign, our target audience actually worked in our building, a few floors down. Our target was the creatives. As media strategy people who work in advertising, we've all come to know a thing or two about creatives and how they behave and make decisions. We know that creatives are pretty much a closed club, more than a little bit elitist, and cynical, often to the point of being downright disrespectful to voices that come from outside their circle. The truth is that most creatives really only listen to each other, and they tend to be very evangelical about the few things they do like. There's a small number of design websites and blogs that have such authority and credibility that if something is deemed cool enough, these sites post about it, word spreads, and this whole target audience knows about it within a few days. So we knew that the real win would be for our brand to do or make something that gets creatives talking to each other in the far more influential editorial portions of these sites, rather than just pay for banner spaces that these creatives tend to ignore. Our media team went out and studied how creatives spend their time and how they use Adobe software. And we asked the question, what might they want to be doing that they can't do today? In this way, we were approaching the problem not just as marketers looking to deliver a message, but more like inventors looking for unmet needs in this audience, unsolved problems, unfulfilled fantasies, and opportunities to create something that would actually be useful to this audience. One insight that stood out was the similarity between creatives and video gamers. Both develop a very sophisticated mastery of their software, priding themselves on speed, agility, and cleverness. Creatives even talk about having Jedi Photoshop skills, for instance. But creatives only ever get to show their finished product. They never have the opportunity to show off their real-time design software skills of which they're so proud. Most wouldn't admit it, but creatives would love to have the chance to be on center stage, showing off those skills in front of an applauding audience of their peers. Another way creatives are like video gamers is that they're incredibly competitive with one another. Anyone who's been to an award show knows that. But creatives never have the forum to compete against one another live, one-on-one, head-to-head. These two untapped and as yet unrealized desires led directly to our media idea. Invent a new sport that lets creatives compete head-to-head, showcasing their Adobe software skills in front of a live online audience of their peers. We'd call the sport Layer Tennis. The competitors, the announcer, and the audience would all log on to the Layer Tennis website from work at the time when creatives are most likely to be goofing around online, Friday afternoons. After a coin toss, player 1 gets 15 minutes to show off by creating a single layer of art in Adobe software. Then player 2 gets 15 minutes to tweak and remix that layer. Then player 1 gets another turn, back and forth for 10 volleys. All the while, our announcer gives the play-by-play, and the online audience gets to participate in real time by commenting, trash-talking, and by deciding on the winner. To execute, we partnered with a well-known designer who made the site minimalist and low-profile enough that creatives could have it up on their screens at work without fearing their bosses would suspect anything out of the ordinary. The idea of Layer Tennis scratched an itch creatives didn't even know they had. We promoted its existence only through word of mouth, and still, news of the opening day of Layer Tennis spread like wildfire on design sites. 50,000 creatives were on hand to participate in the first match. Not too shabby when you consider the Wimbledon finals are only seen live by 15,000, and a typical football stadium only holds 30,000. With over 500,000 watching over the whole season, the Layer Tennis program was a runaway success. Because of CS3, Adobe's earnings were up 113% from 2006. Adobe's CFO stated that the upturn in Adobe's performance was, quote, driven primarily by CS3. And though it was the centerpiece of the CS3 marketing program, the grand total spent in paid media to promote Layer Tennis was $0. Just a media platform idea that proved useful to its audience because it solved unmet desires. They recognized the value instantly and spread word of the new sport for us in their own voices, which was crucial because creatives only really listen to each other. And on the power of the idea, we won their engagement on an unprecedented scale for the category. Tens of thousands at a time, logging in weekly for 3-hour matches on a live platform that's completely focused on the capabilities of Adobe Creative Suite software and what the best of the best creatives can make with it.